Welcome. I'm going to discuss a method of doing some high-level analysis of Tableau load times using the performance recorder. To start, we'll create a test script. This will serve a few purposes for us. It will allow us to rerun the test consistently, and it will also make it easier for doing the analysis later. I built a workbook using the Superstore dataset to make this easy, and you can always try it yourself. We'll first start with some basic setup. I like to get people who don't know a lot of the details of Tableau to use this method to create a consistent baseline for testing with. What we do is we save a package workbook, and then we depackage that package workbook so Tableau doesn't have to do that work when we first load it. So we make a copy of our package workbook, and then we'll rename it to be a zip file. We'll then extract all the files within that zip, and you can see if we go into the folder with the TWB file and also the data files there. Next, our test script. You can see I've got all the steps I want to do here, and between them I've actually put pauses in of about 5 seconds. That gap will make it much easier to identify the patterns when we're looking at the results. So let's move on to making the performance recording. We'll open Tableau, start the performance recorder, and then we'll open our workbook. We'll go through our test script, making sure we use those 5-second pauses between each step. Even between the steps where we're just doing filtering. You can see I've come across my page which has the slow load time. And even once this is fully loaded, then I still wait the extra 5 seconds. And now we've reached the end of the test. We do the 5 seconds, and then we can stop the performance recorder. Tableau will now produce the results into a new workbook. The first thing we want to do is save this workbook as a packaged workbook to ensure we save the contents and the data. I also like to make sure I give it a really useful name, so when I come back to this workbook, I know exactly which test it was from. Now I'm going to go in and start analyzing those results. The first thing I like to do is actually create a duplicate of the timeline page, and it's the main page that I want to work with. And I do that so I can see the results in the way that I find useful. Another thing to make life a little easier is I'll change it so all the start times will start from a 0, being 0 seconds is where I started my test from. To do this, I'll subtract the minimum time of anything inside the workbook from all the results. To do this, I'll create a calculated field, which will be my start time from 0. I'll create a calculated field to subtract that minimum time from the overall time. And I'll use this time to replace the start time that's already in the field, and you can see that my axis changes. Just now start at 0. I'll remove some of the extra fields that are creating a lot of clutter on the page to get it to a state where I can kind of see my test running through in a single page. I'll also remove the elapsed time and dashboard filters as I wish to see everything. You can also see a lot of actions show up under a null workbook and a null worksheet. While Tableau mightn't tell us exactly what's happening with these, they're certainly an important part of the timing and would need to be included in any analysis. Tableau does have an other category. If we have a quick look at it, you can see that it covers a lot of extra things that are going on. The big bar at the top, I would say, is likely the actual running of the performance recorder. I have seen things fall into the other category that do need to be included when you're looking at your performance results. The way I've figured out how to look for these is when there's maybe a bigger gap where there's no action going on, where I'm not expecting there to be no action. So I've looked at other and I've seen Tableau is doing something. For me, this has normally been around when using geospatial information. I'm going to take a screenshot of this now so I can go in and draw some lines over it to have a look at my total load times in another fashion. I'm just going to pop it into MS Paint. And take the line drawing tool and draw lines where each one of my steps started and finished. So my initial opening of the workbook, then my 5-second gap, then going to my second tab, and then you can see my next 5-second gap. I'm going to color some of the bars so it's easier to tell which bars are the end of my test steps and which ones are the beginning of my test steps between those 5-second gaps. There was my change of filter, which ran very quickly. Here is my slow dashboard load. And here is my final page that I did. So when looking at this, you can see that loading the dashboard initially took a while to complete. A lot of the pre-built Tableau pages did load quite quickly, and the page that I deliberately wanted to make load slowly did actually load quite slowly. You can see some of the actions Tableau was doing in that, and if you wanted to investigate further, then you could start looking at that. You can see that when I was loading my slow one, the lots dashboard, the particular worksheet, all slow, did take a significant portion of that time. You can obviously drill into further information if you wish to, but this is a great start for looking at the overall performance and being able to communicate that and creating a way of consistently retesting. Thanks for watching. If you'd like to comment or ask questions, it's best to use the Tableau community forum. I'll be answering questions there, and so will other people from the Tableau community.